Good morning, everyone. This is our second webinar for internationally qualified nurses and midwives. Okay, good morning. I have to use two screens so I can see what's happening. Rightio. Everything that I'll say during this webinar should not be taken as a migration advice. It's only general information, all right? So for those who wish to seek migration advice, please contact one of the RMAs of the group. Just a short introduction about myself. I'm Gloria Collins. How did I get to where I am? I came to Australia on a student visa to study nursing when it was still hospital-based training. So I'm a RMA, New Zealand licensed immigration advisor, a registered nurse, but non-practicing, and a qualified education agent counselor. So this session, we will discuss what you need to do to live and work in Australia or New Zealand, the registration process, and the visa options. With me today are my co-RMAs, Johanna, Bertuman Nonato of Bridge Oz Migration Consultancy, Heidi Davey of Best Immigration Australia, and our immigration lawyer, Teresa Cardona of AusPac Visa. So internationally qualified nurses and midwives, if you want to live and work in Australia, you need to be registered with the Nursing Midwifery Board of Australia through the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency, APRA for short. Let's have a look at the registration requirements. For Australia, APRA, you have 4 mandatory requirements and there are 3 criteria. With midwives, they look at your qualification, your competence, and your fitness to practice. Now, registration standards for Australia, they have the mandatory requirements, which you must meet first before you start anything else, okay? So your English language, you need to have IELTS academic, 7 in each band, PTE, minimum 65 in each component, OET is B in each minimum, or 350 for the new grading system, and the TOEFL IBT. You have to have at least 450 hours within the last 5 years. And you have to present international criminal checks from countries that you've lived for 12 months or more in the last 10 years. You also have to have professional indemnity insurance. Now this one, you can organize this once you become a member of the union, or you can pay for this through private insurance. What are the 3 criteria? Criteria 1 is that your qualification is recognized for registration. So in the Philippines, what that means is you are registered with PRC. Criteria 2 is that the education provider that you completed your bachelor should have quality assurance and accreditation. And criteria 3 is that your academic level of qualification should be equivalent to a bachelor's degree of Australia. Philippine qualified nurses and midwives will not meet criteria 2 and will require the new outcome-based assessment. The countries that will only meet criteria 1 and 2 and 3, of course, are those who completed the educational qualification in Canada for nursing, Hong Kong for nursing, Republic of Ireland, nursing and midwifery, United Kingdom, nursing and midwifery, and the United States of America, nursing and midwifery. So these are the people that will qualify for the stream A, and I will discuss those different streams to you shortly. Qualifications that may meet criterion 2 are those who completed their qualifications in Belgium, Flanders, nursing and midwifery, Chile for nursing, Hong Kong for midwifery, Pakistan for nursing and midwifery, Papua New Guinea for nursing, and Singapore nursing and midwifery. Those are only for people who completed the qualification there, okay? So what is outcome-based assessment? So this was implemented in March this year. So those people who did not apply for registration with APRA before March, they will have to do this outcome-based assessment. There is no more the choice of doing the bridging program, okay? What do you guys have to do now from March? You have to go online, do the self-check. There's no fee in doing this. This is where you choose the, in the drop-down screen, there will be the different universities in the Philippines. If they're not in the drop-down screen, then you have to send that to APRA. APRA will assess and let you know whether you belong to the stream A, stream B, or stream C. So stream A is when the qualification is substantially equivalent. Remember those countries that I mentioned? USA, UK, Ireland, and Canada, and Hong Kong. Stream B will be for qualification relevant, but not substantially equivalent. These are for Filipinos. And stream C is for qualification that's not substantially equivalent, and they will have to do an approved program of study. I'll discuss that shortly. So I've told you about the stream A. So once you've done the self-check and it says that your qualification is substantially equivalent, you then pay for your registration fee, your application fee, and you go and complete your orientation part 1 and 2. And once you're registered and employed, the employer will provide the work induction. Okay. Now we'll discuss in detail stream B, because this is where Filipinos will fit in. So you guys will have to do the self-check online. And as I said, it's free. You don't have to pay anything. It will then come back to say that your qualification is relevant, but not substantially equivalent. So you will be told to carry on. You have to pay the assessment fee of $640. And then you do the orientation part 1. You have 90 days to complete orientation part 1. It's an introduction to the Australian healthcare system. It'll take you about an hour to complete. You don't have to do it in one sitting. You can come back and complete it. And then you do your portfolio online. What's the portfolio? This is where you submit your documents for your identity and your qualification, okay? And once you've completed that, you will get a notification from APRA to say that you have to now go and do the stage 1 of the outcome-based assessment, which is NCLEX for RNs, MCQ for midwives, and enrolled nurses not available yet, okay? So the NCLEX, you have to sit for that anywhere in the world. I think it's available in the Philippines, but you have to pay $350 US. Now, for those Filipino nurses who have sat the NCLEX for, say, a plan to go to the US, if you've sat for this and passed it within the last 10 years, APRA will accept it, right? Once you've completed the NCLEX, you then go ahead. Once APRA tells you that you can go and sit for the stage 2 of the OBA, which is the Objective Structured Clinical Exam, OSCE for short. You take that at the Adelaide Health Simulation, and the cost is 4,000 Australian dollars at the moment. Once you pass that, you pay your registration, and with that, you have to do the orientation part 2, which is, again, an online, in-depth introduction to Australian healthcare system. This will go in more detail about your role as an RN, self and women-centered cultural practice, etc. And then you get your employer, once you've employed, to do the work induction. Now, for those whose qualifications are not substantially equivalent, they will be referred to complete the Nursing Midwifery Board approved program of study. And once they've completed that, they pay the application fee and the registration fee. And once they're registered, and employed, then they will have the induction with the employer. Now, many of you will be saying, how do I do this? And what visa do I need? Now, most Filipinos who have been lucky or blessed to have been granted the student visa, most of them will be studying either leadership and management, certificate 3 and 4 in individual support, or diploma in community services, or any other courses that's been offered. I think some of them are even studying diploma in early childhood. Make use of your time. Don't wait until your visa is nearly over before you start your OBA. You can do your self-check, you can do your orientation, you can do your portfolio, you can even sit and CLEX while you're in Australia. And once you pass that, you do your OSCE. And then you complete this OBA program while you're on a student visa in Australia. Now, for those who are still offshore, you can do your self-check up to the multiple choice question, the NCLEX, sorry. And then if you find an education provider who offers the subclass 407, you can then come to Australia on the 407 and do the program from self-check to registration. Or if you're not lucky to have that, you can do, as I said, do your self-check up to the multiple choice question, come to Australia for the OSCE on a visitor visa, business stream. Now, once you are registered with APRA, you may find an employer who will sponsor you for 482, which is the temporary shorted skill visa. You have to have 2 years work experience for you to be sponsored by an employer. For 482, 186 direct entry, you have to have at least 3 years work experience, or the 494 provisional in the regional area. And this one, you also need to have 3 years work experience. Or if you meet the points, you can go through the general skill migration visa system for the 189, the 190, or the 491. I think we will have webinars in the coming months to discuss these different types of visas. So stay in tune, watch our space, and come and join us in our next webinar. Now, if you want to study in Australia and haven't quite met your English requirement, you can do so and do either Bachelor of Nursing honors degree for 1 year with Deakin University, or you can do Bachelor of Nursing in most universities. This will only take you 2 years because they will credit you at least 1 year for having a Bachelor of Science in Nursing in the Philippines, from the Philippines. Now, if you study at least 2 years bachelor degree in nursing, you will then qualify for the temporary graduate visa 485, and you may get at least 2 years or sometimes 3 years, depending on where you study, to gain work experience and then to go through the different visa options, which I've already discussed earlier. Right? Now, if you are going to have an employer-sponsored visa after you register with APRA, you won't need skills assessment. But if you have to go through the point system, you will have to have your skills assessment with the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council, ANMAC for short. Full assessments are for those in the stream A. Modified plus skills assessment are for those who don't have a bachelor's degree, but they're registered. They can get their ANMAC skills assessment, and then they will come to Australia and register with APRA and provide identification. The modified skills assessment are for those who are already registered with APRA. Thank you again for joining us. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Johanna. Thank you, Teresa Cardona, for being there to answer the questions. It's hard to answer questions and do the webinar at the same time. All right. Have a good evening. Bye, everyone.